Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, Spirit of Life, number 123 in the gray hymnal. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF as we like to say. My name is Reverend Jacqueline Brett. I'm the lead minister here, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender identity, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here. And if you're visiting with us for the first or perhaps even the second time, we invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for choosing to spend this Sunday morning with us. And we invite you, if you have children with you, your children are invited to join our children for a religious exploration, which takes place right after the time for all ages. Just follow the other children and parents out, and they'll get you settled in. And if you are a visitor without children, or once you have your children in class, right after this service, there is an inquirer's class for visitors and newcomers that happens in the building right next door, the care building, and you can learn a little about ERUUF and let us know a little about you as well. Today is we are extremely excited today to have a special guest minister leading our worship service, the Reverend Dr. Arvid Straube, who is our Minister Emeritus. Yes. And I wrote some notes down here because he has so much that he's done. Reverend Straube was ERUUF's first full-time minister, and he served ERUUF for over 20 years in a career that has spanned more than 40 years. Much has happened at ERUUF, and much happened at ERUUF during the time of Dr. Straube's presence here. The congregation grew tremendously. The congregation moved to this location. Lots of construction work happened here during his time. And also our Buddhist community got started here, which I'll say a little bit more about later. Arvid is beloved by many of us here at ERUUF, including me, because I got to finally meet him in person when he was my professor, or one of my professors, at Meadville Lombard when I was in seminary. Arvid, to this day and to this time, is one of my treasured mentors, and I speak to him often about my work here at ERUUF. I would like to just welcome you again. Arvid, did you rise so that we can all take a look at you? And I was saying to him after, just before coming in, that I want to return to the tradition we had pre-COVID of Arvid and his wife Sonia coming here once a year. It's been 3 years since we've seen Arvid, and way too long. And Sonia, would you rise so that we can say hello to you and welcome you as well? So please, right now would be a great time to turn off or down any devices you might have on your person. And let's just now take a moment to center ourselves. Into this time, this place, this now. And let's all together take a deep breath in and let it out. And let us now begin worship.
Slow it down, go easy, easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down, go easy, easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down, go easy, easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down, take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop. Slow it down and easy. Take a breath and stop.
These words are from the ancient Buddhist scripture, the Dhammapada. All are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If we speak or act with an evil thought, pain follows us as a wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. If we speak or act with a pure thought, happiness follows us like a shadow that never leaves us.
Hello. I am looking out there for our smallest and mediumest and largest and our children of all ages to come up for our time for all ages a little earlier than usual. I think I surprised a few of you. Oh, here they come, here they come. Welcome. Come on down. Come on down. Feel free to come in a little bit. Yes, we'll make it. Yes, indeed. Oh my gosh, we got a few people here. I know some of you, and I think we got some guests too. Good to see this crew. Wonderful to see. Oh, I see somebody coming in the back too. A few people coming in the back. Feel free to come on down if you want to. We have a story today that I'm not going to show you the cover of yet. Spoilers, dears, spoilers. We have to keep a secret about it. So I'm going to have a question that I'm going to ask you in this story. But be careful because I'm going to ask you to raise your hands with some information because there's a spoiler in here and I'm going to see how long it takes us to figure it out. Now, this is a story. This version of the story is based on a version written by a poet named Rumi, who is also an Islamic scholar and a Sufi mystic, and was alive many, many, many years ago, and even further back. This was a story told by the Buddha many, 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 many years ago. So far back that I'm 100% sure nobody in this room was alive, at least in the personage that they are right now. None of us would have lived that long. So we've got a little story here. It's about a creature. And the secret is, what is that creature? I'm going to be so curious to figure out when we figure it out. I know many of us have heard this story. So don't say anything about what the creature is, okay? If you figure it out, don't say anything. Just keep it in your head for now. Merchant Ahmad had brought a mysterious creature all the way from India. If you, huh? Oh, you need to see it? Yeah, it's up there too, just in case. But I'm glad to pull the picture over there for you too. The news spread fast through the village. What could the huge beast be? Interesting. The villagers ran to the merchant's barn next to his house to see that this strange creature, but the doors were locked, and the merchant, tired from his journey, was sound asleep. I too like to be sound asleep. The rowdy crowd woke the merchant. He stuck his head out of the window and shouted, "It is too dark in the barn to see anything. Go home and let me sleep." If you had people shouting outside of your window, might you also say, "Go home and let me sleep"? I would.
I love to be waked up.
Oh, you like to be woken up?
Especially on weekends.
Especially on weekends. I hear you.
I get so tired.
Okay, so raise your hand if you think you might know what this creature is already. Raise your hand if you already know this story. Okay, a few of you. Okay. But no one went home. Of course they didn't, because otherwise we wouldn't have a story. Instead, they decided to see the beast for themselves. What are they doing? Somebody is.
Somebody through the window.
They're pushing somebody through the window. Oh, dearie. Now, don't say anything if you think you know what this is yet. Don't say anything yet. The first villager snuck into the dark barn. He tripped on a bucket of water and fell on the animal's long, slithery nose. This startled the villager and set him running. Outside, he gathered himself, puffed his chest, and said, "The creature is like a snake." How many of you think he's right? Is it a snake? No? Okay. No. I didn't hear that. You didn't hear that either? Great. We're gonna play along. Next, a short man entered and reached very slowly into the dark. He wrapped his arms around one of the animal's legs and then rushed out to report, "People, the creature is not like a snake at all. Oh no, it's round and tall, like a tree trunk." Now, is a tree trunk a creature? No, but do you think it might have felt like a tree trunk? Yeah. It might have felt like a snake too. Oh,
Yeah, it's an elephant.
okay, we figured it out. The elephant is out of the bag, so to speak. A third villager climbed inside the dark barn. The beast swept its huge ear against her face, and the woman ran out. "The creature is neither like a snake nor a tree trunk," she panted. "It's like a fan, a huge floppy fan." Is an elephant also like a huge floppy fan? No? Have you seen an elephant's its ears? Are its ears like a floppy fan? Mm-hmm. Its nose is kind of like a snake, and its legs kind of like a tree trunk. The three villagers argued excitedly. Others scratched their heads and disagreed. Each offered such different views. The fight escalated, and the remaining villagers stole into the dark barn to find out the truth for themselves. I think I would be confused if I heard those 3 points of view and had not seen. It's like a leathery jug of water. It's skinny and hairy like a paintbrush. Yeah, it tail's a little bit like a paintbrush. It's definitely sharp like a plow. Like those tusks, right? It sounds like a horn. Yeah, that's probably pretty true. Bless you. All day long, they called each other names and fought to prove each other wrong. Into the night, no one listened, but everyone shouted and shoved. Oh my gosh, so much arguing.
Just about a weird elephant.
Just about a weird elephant. Actually, a kind of normal elephant, in fact. When the sun finally rose the next morning, Merchant Ahmad led the beautiful, gentle creature to the river, but everyone was still too busy fighting to notice the large gray elephant. And no one noticed that they knew only a small piece of the truth. Because in fact, were all of the villagers, none of the villagers figured out what the creature was, but did they all tell the truth? Yeah. There's a little bit of truth in what each one of them said. But they had to come together to figure it out. This looks like a much more playful picture with the villagers and the elephant. So I love this as the last picture. And can you show us that title, the cover now? Elephant in the Dark. So sometimes our wisdom benefits when we bring it together. We see a fuller picture. We see things we didn't see before when we all put our little pieces together. And with that, oh, yes?
I think those are kids.
I think you're right. I think those are kids. And you might be right. The villagers might be behind the bushes fighting. Okay. Bless their souls, because sometimes we too are the villagers. All right, and with that, let us go forward and begin RE in the care building. Go now in peace, you got it? Are you? May the spirit of the surround everywhere, everywhere you may go. Fly on and pause, fly on and pause.
You know, every once in a while, something absolutely, truly fabulous happens here, and I have the great just excitement and pleasure to tell you about one of those things right now. About a year ago, we had two of our members approach the coordinating team and the foundation with a great idea that they had. And those two people were Denise Frizzell and Clint McSherry. And their great idea was to have EV stations, electrical vehicle stations, installed here at ERUUF. And we didn't know if we could make it happen. It was quite an undertaking, even with what we initially saw as being a grant from the VW settlement and a lot of other things that we sat with this for quite some time to figure out whether or not we could do it. And after a great deal of research and discussion, I am so excited to announce to you that we're going to have 4 EV stations installed right here at ERUUF. And I gotta tell you, I just want to lift up just the persistence, the determination of both Denise and Clint, the work of our Earth Justice group. You know, it is because of this group that we have solar panels on some of our buildings right now. There are some other people involved in this as well. First of all, the coordinating team, and I have to especially name Bonnie LaCroix because she had some key research that had us realize that this project was indeed possible here. And also the foundation gave a small grant for this project as well. And then Richard Harkrader, who is Buildings and Grounds Chair, he was also instrumental in doing some research and supporting this project. So I just wanted to kick off our Earth and Climate Justice Month with this announcement. I think there's no better way to kick it off than to know that this is something else we're doing on behalf of our beloved Earth. And with that, I introduce Denise Frizzell, who will speak about all the goings-on this month.
Good morning and happy April. As the lyrics of a song by the duo Ma Muse declare, oh, what a day. The sky above and the ground under our feet, glorious, glorious. In her book, Active Hope, Joanna Macy writes, active hope is not wishful thinking. Active hope is not waiting to be rescued. Active hope is waking up to the beauty of life, and on whose behalf we can act. We belong to this world. The web of life is calling us forth at this time. We've come a long way, and we are here now to play our part. I celebrate this collective contribution to electrifying transportation that Reverend Jacqueline just announced, which is a highly significant component of a sustainable and vibrant future for all life. I truly, truly appreciate her leadership and Reverend Daniel and Clint McSherry, members of our coordinating team, and Sarah Terry and our board of directors, and all who came together to say yes to this opportunity to play our part by doing what we can to further green our campus. We held our first Earth and Climate Justice Month in April 2019 and adopted the slogan, small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. A quote attributed to Howard Zinn, an American historian, philosopher, and author of numerous books, to include one of his best known, A People's History of the United States. We maintain this slogan for Earth and Climate Justice Month because while it is true that governments at every level of society must pass legislation to make the massive changes across all sectors required for the Great Turning, a term coined by David Korten in his book with the same title. There are approximately 8 billion people sharing planet Earth today, and each of us has a part to play, particularly those of us who live in the United States with lifestyles that would require the natural resources of at least 4 Earths for the rest of the world to fully emulate, according to research associated with the Global Footprint Network. So let's follow the lead and the momentum established by our commitment to install these 4 EV charging stations on campus, by putting our intention and attention on living our UU 7th principle at higher levels of expression in practical ways, right here, right now, by taking a pledge to act for our Earth and our children and engaging in various events and activities planned this month to support the ongoing shift of our personal identity away from consumers to Earth stewards, away from consumers and to Earth stewards, and to more sustainable life choices. You can pick up and return your pledge card at coffee hour, and not to be confused with your annual financial pledge, which I hope you've taken care of already. But this is a commitment to take action to help heal the Earth during the month of April and hopefully beyond. Earth Justice will have a table set up every Sunday this month at coffee hour. And when you return your pledge card, you will receive the sticker, Think Green, Act Green. And we will also put your name in a raffle for this Yeti tumbler, right? So don't delay. Join fellow Ruffians in expressing active hope and playing your part for the healing of Mother Earth and creating a sustainable future for our children. Oh, what a day, what a day. Glorious, glorious indeed. Amen.
So this is what we mean by faith in action. This is a manifestation of our moral imagination and our spiritual work. So during this time of year when we experience a convergence of celebrations of some of the world's major religions, Christians today are celebrating Palm Sunday, Muslims are in the middle of Ramadan, and the Jewish celebration of Passover will begin later this week. And so, of course, we would celebrate Buddhism today. And I gotta say, it's not as unusual as it might seem, as I also learned that some Buddhists who have adopted the Gregorian calendar actually are celebrating the Buddha's birthday this coming week on April 8th, so it all turned out just fine. Buddhism is one of the oldest religions still being practiced in the world today. It originated in India around the 5th century BCE and thus predates Christianity. The Buddhist community here at ERUUF was founded around 1990 by Reverend Dr. Arvid Straube, one of his many gifts that he's left this congregation, along with several ERUUFians who founded it with him. That community has been in existence ever since, including when it moved online for a brief while during the pandemic. Steve Seiberling, who will be joining Arvid today as worship associate, has been a member of the Eno River Buddhist Community since the mid-90s and began leading the group in the late 1990s, which he has done ever since that time. And so I'm going to turn the service over to them as they give us some life hacks from the Buddha.
And open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
Good morning. These are words attributed to the Buddha. A man or woman visits a recluse or a Brahmin and asks, "Venerable Sir, what is skillful? What is unskillful? What is blamable? What is blameless? What should be cultivated? What should not be cultivated? What kind of action will lead to my harm and suffering for a long time? What kind of action will lead to my well-being and happiness for a long time?" This passage describes how one should approach a spiritual teacher according to the Buddha. A key concept here, one shining brightly throughout the Buddha's teachings, is that of skillfulness. You can think of skillfulness as something of a unifying principle in the teachings. So what does skillfulness mean, and how might we apply it? The ancient Indic word translated as skillfulness essentially means what is good. It comes from a term that literally means being skilled at something, as a carpenter or a musician is skilled at her craft. The Buddha applied the concept to spiritual qualities, meaning what is genuinely good, what does not cause harm, and leads to lasting well-being. The Buddha's teachings describe skillfulness as 3 types of action, using the somewhat unusual phrases of bodily action, actions of speech, and actions of mind. Skillfulness in bodily action consists in the teachings of 3 ethical trainings: abstaining from killing living creatures, and instead living with compassion for all beings. Abstaining from taking what is not given, living honestly without any intention to steal. And abstaining from sexual misconduct, meaning to respect one's commitments and commitments of others in intimate relationships. Skillful actions of speech mean never intentionally saying what's false, speaking with compassion and with other good intention. And Arvid will have more to say about that. Skillful actions of mind mean letting go of craving or greed, abandoning ill will and developing goodwill, and recognizing that our actions produce real results with meaningful consequences. For all these forms of action, the Buddha's advice is to consider, would this action lead to my own harm or harm to others? Or is the action good, avoiding harmful consequences for everyone affected? The Buddha encourages developing skillfulness in many other ways. Here are some that I find especially helpful, although perhaps somewhat challenging. The teachings invite us to become aware of the ways that we construct personal identity and to consider how they serve us and how they affect others. For example, I'm a political liberal. In what ways does my attachment to that identity influence me? Am I genuinely open to complex truths that seem contrary to my biases? Can I disagree with people who think differently from me and still remain compassionate toward them? The Buddha's teachings challenge me to hold identities like this lightly so that skillfulness still guides my actions. The Buddha also encourages us to let go of comparison with others, not judging oneself as superior to others or even equal to or inferior to others. He advises us to not focus on others' faults, but to mindfully observe our own actions. For the Buddha, the question that matters is not who I am or how I rate in comparison to others, but what is the quality of my own actions. I have found a sense of well-being and freedom when I embrace these perspectives. As with all of the Buddha's teachings, the invitation is to try them out and see in your own experience if they lead to good results, if they ring true. At the same time, he does say to investigate those who we think are wise, and if it turns out that they are, to learn from them. If you'd like to explore applying skillful action, you might pick one or more of the ethical trainings that I've mentioned. Recall the principle regularly, perhaps recite it daily. For example, I commit to the training of abstaining from killing living creatures. Keeping this precept means not intentionally killing a human or any animal, even insects. Yes, even cockroaches. If you wish, you might try out the practice for a week, or perhaps even just a day. Notice on days when you observe the training with care how it affects your state of mind. Does it alter your sense of confidence, your clarity of mind, your inner happiness? On occasions when you act contrary to the principle, what effect does that have on the mind? This can be explored. The Buddha emphasizes that when we become aware of failures in our ethical commitments, that we understand we cannot undo past actions. Instead, what is helpful is to acknowledge what was done and to resolve to act skillfully in the future. The Buddha likened developing skillful qualities to tending a grove of tall trees, one that is grown over with vines and invasive weeds, perhaps the ancient Indian equivalent of a kudzu patch. A person wanting the trees to flourish removes the choking vines and weeds and carefully prunes the trees and saplings so they can thrive and grow. Consciously developing skillful actions enables us to flourish and to explore for ourselves what is skillful, what should be cultivated, what kind of action will lead to my well-being and happiness for a long time.
These words attributed to the Buddha: mind should be inclined thus. Others will adhere to their own views, hold on to them, tenaciously relinquish them with difficulty. We shall not adhere to our own views or hold them tenaciously, but shall relinquish them easily. Like, I don't have any tattoos, but if I were to get one, it would be the phrase, "Don't believe everything you think." The Buddha summarized his teachings in what he called the ennobling eightfold path, which are 8 practices that lead to the end of suffering. And the very first one was right thought. In my work as a spiritual director, I see the way that particular patterns of thinking, particular stories that people identify with, cause so much suffering. And sometimes it's possible to talk about the fact that those thoughts and stories that we tell ourselves and believe aren't personal. They're the result of conditioning. They began probably as a way to protect us when we were vulnerable and small. And they're no longer serving us, but they're trying to. They're just conditioning. And the Buddha talks about those patterns, those kleshas, as tangles. And if we believe those thoughts of suffering, then they get bigger. And if we resist them, they get bigger. The idea is just to let them go. To let them go. And to ask if they are true. It matters what we think a lot. Because our thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to habits, and habits lead to character. So it's important for us to cultivate right thoughts like we would good plants in our gardens. We cultivate thoughts that are friendly toward ourselves and others, that are compassionate to ourselves and others, that help us to let go of thoughts of ill will, especially to ourselves maybe to start with. It's important then to notice compassionately when unwholesome thoughts arise and deal with them with awareness and compassion and let them heal. One of the things that is maybe the hardest to let go is our greed for opinions and identity. Is it possible, even in this polarized world where we cling so deeply to our ideological opinions, is it possible to ask, is this true? How do I know? Is this true? How do I know? The third Zen patriarch is said, do not search for the truth, only cease to cherish opinions. And the revered Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh wrote it this way: do not be idolatrous about or bound to any doctrine, theory, or ideology, even Buddhist ones. Buddhist systems of thought are guiding means, not absolute truth. If we can just let go of the idea that we are what we think, if we can just let go that our thoughts are almost always somewhat distorted by our history, by our personal conditioning, that they are distorted quite often, almost always, actually, by ignorance and greed and delusion, and certainly by our cultural conditioning. Think about this. Almost all war, terrorism, and oppression in this world is perpetrated by people who are 100% sure that they are right. And if people cling to that identity based on thoughts that are not examined, then they might be willing to die or to kill for the thoughts and opinions that they base their identity on. So cultivating thoughts of friendliness and compassion for ourselves and for others, and asking, and holding our opinions and asking, is this true? How do I know? Okay. I'm inviting you now to participate in a meditation that the Buddha taught as a way to heal fear and anxiety. It's called metta meditation or loving kindness meditation. And if you wish, I'm inviting you to join in the guidance of this meditation. So perhaps you want to take a posture in your pew of stability, maybe lift up your head as if somebody were gently taking your hair and pulling it, and then allowing yourself to settle in. And if it feels right, you can close your eyes and take some deep breaths, paying particular attention to the sensation of your breathing at your heart center, right at the sternum. So take a few breaths and notice the sensations there. And while you're continuing to maintain awareness there, notice how these thoughts that you can give yourself affect that. May I be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May I be happy. May I be well. May I live with ease, without tension or conflict, inner and outer. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be well. May I live with ease. And notice what's happening there as you breathe from your heart center. And think about people you love and care about. And you can send those thoughts to them as well. May you, my beloved friend, my beloved family member, be safe. May you be happy. May you be well. May you live with ease. Be safe. Be happy. Be well. Live with ease. Notice if there's any softening and warmth happening there in your heart center. And if there is, or even if there isn't, you can have the intention of sending that warmth, that loving kindness to the person on your left and the person on your right. And to everyone in this room and on this campus and in these two cities, 3 cities, and the state and the world, actually, the planet, all living beings. And send them these thoughts. May all beings everywhere be safe. May all beings everywhere be happy. May all beings everywhere be well. May all beings everywhere live with ease, content in their true nature.
When I breathe out,
Another passage from the teachings of the Buddha. I do not see even a single thing that so causes unarisen, skillful qualities to arise, and arisen, unskillful qualities to decline, as good friendship. For one with good friends, unarisen, skillful qualities arise, and arisen, unskillful qualities decline. Buddhist teachings emphasize developing one's own convictions of what is good. It seems unusual, then, that the Buddha placed such an emphasis on friendship. The Buddha encouraged people to not rely exclusively on tradition or on what others say in choosing a spiritual path. But he also recognized that our own inclinations and reasoning are not always reliable. The solution he suggests is to learn from those we have determined to be wise and then test what they teach through direct experience. The Buddha understood that we not only learn from what others say, but also from seeing what they do. Here's one way he spoke about it. And what is good friendship? In whatever village or town a person dwells, she associates with others, whether young or old, who are of mature virtue, accomplished in conviction, moral discipline, generosity, and wisdom. She converses with them and engages in discussions with them. She emulates them in regard to their accomplishment in conviction, moral discipline, generosity, and wisdom. This is called good friendship. From this perspective, a good friend is not just a buddy who is fun to hang out with, but someone who has genuinely skillful qualities and wisdom. The Buddha organized lay people and monastics in intertwined communities. The goal was to allow followers to support each other in understanding and cultivating skillful actions in their lives. You may want to reflect when you have time. Who do you know that is genuinely skillful and wise? Do you intentionally learn from them and emulate their good qualities? In what ways have you been a good friend to others? Would you like to do more to act as a true good friend?
Words of the Buddha. And what is right speech? Abstinence from false speech, abstinence from divisive speech. I'm going to pause there for a minute. Abstinence from harsh speech, abstinence from idle chatter. This is called right speech. It's hard to exaggerate the amount of suffering we humans cause each other by unskillful speech. And this seems more true than ever in my lifetime. Our moral atmosphere is being polluted more and more by harsh speech, by hateful speech, by misinformation. And all of us, it seems, are often victims of the outrage industrial complex where people monetize divisiveness. And this happens not just on one side of the political spectrum. Outrage is junk food for the ego. Think about it. How many lies do we hear before we finish breakfast? If we're consuming media of any kind. Commercials, maybe not completely true. News releases from various agencies, groups, governments, organizations. The Buddha said in order to be happy and to protect the well-being of others, we need to practice skillful speech, and he is very precise in defining what that is. Precise in defining what it is, I find it one of the most difficult of his teachings to practice because speech is so often thoughtless and natural, and it's kind of a discipline to step back from that toward more thoughtful speech. So skillful speech, of course, is honest speech. You're not lying, you don't lie. But that's not enough, according to the Buddha. It also needs to be helpful speech. So the Buddha identified 3 kinds of speech that he says are particularly unskillful. And I'll start with one that I struggle with: gossip. Why is it that we run other people down when they're not there? Why do we repeat things about them that we're not sure are true? It harms them in the mind of the person who's listening to that. So the point is to pay attention to what we're saying, even in casual conversation, because words are powerful. The second kind of speech that's particularly unhelpful is dishonest speech. And here we're not just talking about outright lying, but the kind of half-truth, innuendo, exaggeration that's so common among humans, now exaggerated by social media. And perhaps the most harmful kind of dishonest speech is the lies we tell ourselves. You know, it's really difficult to be scrupulously honest. Think about it. So right speech not only needs to be honest, says the Buddha, but it needs to be helpful and kind. Now, we've all known people, maybe we've been people, who use honesty and frankness as a sadistic weapon, as a gotcha, as a way to set themselves above other people. Sometimes sarcasm is like that, or speech that the person thinks is honest but conveys contempt, or nitpicking. Now, not all criticism is helpful. Have you noticed? And finally, skillful speech is both timely and necessary. So the Buddha doesn't say you can't ever criticize someone. Sometimes that's necessary. But here are his words. Before admonishing another, one should reflect thus: in due season will I speak, not out of season. In truth will I speak, not in falsehood. Gently will I speak, not harshly. For their benefit will I speak, not for their loss. In kindness will I speak, not in anger. And I want to talk about generosity next. Again, these words from the scripture. There are 5 gifts of a good person. What 5? They give a gift out of faith. They give a gift respectfully. They give a timely gift. They give a gift unreservedly. They give a gift without injuring themselves or others. Let's do a fun thought experiment. Okay, imagine the stingiest person you know. And just pay attention to thinking about that person, thinking about how that makes you feel inside to think about that person. Let's take a moment, if you're willing to play with this. Think about it. How do you feel? Now think about the most generous person you know. When you think about them, bring their face and voice and actions to mind. How does it feel inside? All the great religious traditions recognize generosity as an essential practice for spiritual growth and for developing our true humanity, because it helps us loosen the bonds of self-centeredness. Every time we give, it loosens those bonds of egotism, self-centeredness, greed, isolation. So the simple act of giving, whether it be something material, whether it be a kind word, whether it be assistance in a practical task, whether it be holding someone in loving kindness, loosens that illusion of separateness that causes so much suffering. All the spiritual traditions, as far as my studies go, say that generosity is perhaps the most direct means of creating happiness for ourselves and others. You know, the early Buddhist scriptures are about 10 of this, 3 of that, so on. So the Buddha has 3 levels of giving. The first level is tentative giving. We've been there, okay? Say there's a yard sale for a charity, and you're looking at all your old stuff, and you're thinking, well, I haven't used this for a long time. Maybe I should give this to a good cause. But you know, maybe the bell-bottoms will come back. I guess they are. They are coming back. Yeah. Gee, too bad I gave mine away. But that's the kind of reluctant giving, of tentative giving. It's fearful. We're worried that we're going to regret that giving. And then the next higher level of giving is sibling-like giving. Here you see a need, or you see something that someone can use, or you see something that will make a person happy, and you give it spontaneously, and it makes you happy to give it, like you do for our loved ones. And then the final kind of giving that the Buddha talked about is royal giving, which is giving that's effortless and spontaneous, giving where you don't care what you get back in terms of compliments or thanks, giving where you don't even need the other person to know that you've given sometimes. So here's a life hack, something you can try. It'll be fun, I promise. For the next week, give in to any generous impulse you have, whether it be giving people a thing or a kind word or assistance or help. Just give in to that generous impulse. And then notice how that makes you feel. You might notice the reluctance. You might notice a happiness and a feeling of lightness. Try that experiment. And we will give you an opportunity right now, because we're about to receive our offering. And if you haven't turned in your pledge card, there's another wonderful opportunity. Our offering will now be received.
Shanti, Om Shanti,
And so we give thanks. We give thanks for all of the blessings, all of the gifts that we give and create together in beloved community. The gift of music, the gift of having as many ministers as we get to have here at ERUUF, including our Minister Emeritus. We give thanks. And with that, we will continue on with our service. Steve will close us out with 2 more readings from the Buddha.
These are verses attributed to the Buddha's ancient disciple, Mahakassapa. Having returned from his daily alms round, having climbed up the rocky mountain, Kassapa meditates free from clinging, his task done, free of defilements. Spread over with garlands of the kareri tree, these regions are delightful to my heart. Resounding with elephants so lovely, these rocky mountains give me delight. The splendid hue of dark blue clouds where streams are flowing, cool and clear, covered with Indigopika bugs, these rocky mountains give me delight. Their lovely valleys washed by rain, the mountains are resorted to by sages, echoing with the cries of peacocks. These rocky mountains give me delight. This is enough for me who loves to meditate, enough for me, resolute and mindful. This is enough for me, a monk, resolute, who loves the goal. The Buddha often urged his followers to go to the forest to practice meditation. He did the same before his awakening, and he spoke of finding solace in the wilderness. He taught how to use perception of the lack of disturbance in the forest to quiet the mind. This is a practice called the descent into emptiness. As he neared death, he chose to pass away in a grove of trees instead of in a well-known city. To me, insights in the verses of Mahakassapa are reflected in the thoughts of John Muir, the 19th century naturalist and advocate for wilderness preservation. Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop off like autumn leaves. You may want to consider finding a place of your own where you can be relatively undisturbed in a natural area or a quiet park near your home. Sit down there and let the mind settle. Experience simply being with the sound of the wind or songs of birds. Feel the ground under you and the breeze on your skin. That can be enough to refresh the heart. Then, if you want, turn your mind to the experience of the breath and dwell mindfully present to the inner world of your body and mind. For our closing words, we'll hear one last quotation from the Buddha. Refraining from all that is detrimental, undertaking what is skillful, purifying one's mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our closing hymn, which is number 347, Gather the Spirit. Gather the Spirit, harvest the poor of temperate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour, as in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope again.